College Success Arizona presents Student Stories. The feature of the following story and interview is Luis Perez Medina.
So I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, but my parents are originally from Mexico. I've been here since I was born, so haven't moved around too much, but I like Arizona.
And where did you graduate from high school?
I went to high school at Alhambra High School, which is about a block from Grand Canyon University.
And what are you doing now in terms of your education?
So right now I'm pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Supply Chain Management at the Carey School of Business at Arizona State University. I also have a minor in French, and I'm currently a student at Barrett Honors College.
And where are you in your course of study, junior, senior?
I just completed my junior year, actually, so I have 1 year left, and right now I have an internship right now, and it looks like that might follow through to a full-time job. So I'm really grateful for my experiences with College Success Arizona.
And can you tell us where your internship is and what it might lead to in terms of the job you mentioned?
So right now I have a summer internship with Arizona Public Service, or APS for short. They're the utility company that provides electricity to the majority of people in Arizona. Right now, I'm shadowing different professions that they have within the supply chain department to get a feel of what I'm good at, where my strengths lie. And based on that, they're going to try to give me a position that they have open at the time that I graduate.
Can you tell us exactly what supply chain management is?
Sure. So supply chain management is a branch of business. I like to describe it very much as if a business was a human body, supply chain management would kind of be the muscles and ligaments of supply chain. Supply chain has three overlying categories. Logistics, which most people are familiar with, that's the transportation and movement of goods. We have operations, which is kind of the handling of goods. And then we have procurement, which is the purchasing of goods. So we're responsible for buying things, moving things, selling things, servicing things. We make up a good part of what people think of when they usually think of business. We're usually a supporting function, and that's pretty much supply chain in a kind of a nutshell.
And how old are you currently?
Right now, I'm 20 years old, about to turn 21 in a month.
And why the interest in supply chain management? Where did that come from?
So originally when I started out in college, I was undecided at the time, but I started shadowing professionals in the industry. I started sitting in on classes within business because business is something that I always knew I wanted to go into. It was something I was very passionate about. I'm a very analytical person. I like talking to people, so business just seemed like a good fit for me. Luckily, I was lucky enough to shadow some of the board members that are actually that are board members for College Success Arizona, and they let me shadow them. One of them works at Freeport down here in downtown Phoenix, and I got very interested in this idea of working for international supply chains, which is where I would eventually like to end up. It just really piqued my interest, and the more I studied it, the more I shadowed people in the industry, the more it seemed like supply chain was my fit. And now that I'm a senior, I'm really happy with the choices that I've made.
And being a business major, and you mentioned that you have a French minor, I'm assuming that has a potential purpose for you in terms of business or maybe where you would live at some point?
Yeah. So right now I'm fortunate enough to know English, Spanish, and French. And that was all intentional. I'm trying to get to that global career path. So right now, with French, French, Spanish, and English are all international languages. So I feel like those three languages are going to help propel my career to that international platform that I'm hoping I'll eventually get to.
So you're fluent in French? You can read and write it?
So right now, I'm fortunate. I have a lot of friends who speak French and are from French-speaking countries. I can have very basic conversations. Right now, I'm working with my minor and with my professors and with my friends to get to that working level proficiency. I still got a ways to go, but it kind of gives me that goal. I study it every single day. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I like a lot. So it's something that I'm really happy that I get to study it along with my other major.
So your French would be comme ci, comme ça?
Oui. Yeah.
Now, knowing Spanish, did that make learning French easier? Because some of the words are similar and the numbers are certainly similar.
Yeah, so actually the thing that kind of helped the most is the grammar. Spanish and French are very similar, but I think in terms of their vocabulary and their intonation patterns, but I feel the grammar really helps a lot because the placement of words and the structure of sentences is very similar in both languages. Last summer, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Quebec City, Canada, which is in the French-speaking part of Canada. So when I went there, I learned a lot of words, and something that definitely also helps is the vocab. I find that a lot of French words are kind of Spanish, but with a kind of English twang to it. So some words look like English, some words look like Spanish. So I think learning French is perfect for somebody who knows both languages.
Like the numbers, like 30 in Spanish, Espanol is 30, in French it's 30, right?
Yep, it's 30 and 30. And it makes things very, very interesting. Sometimes when you look at something that's written, you can kind of pick up on it. Even if you don't know what the exact word is, sometimes you can kind of see that it looks similar to another word, and that kind of helps with comprehension.
And you mentioned the sentence structure in French and Spanish. Is it because there's like a masculine and a feminine to the sentence structure versus English? They don't really have like a masculine or feminine to it.
Right, so English doesn't have that gender masculine, feminine to its nouns, but French and Spanish both have the exact same sentence structure. Another thing that's very similar, and this is kind of getting into detail, is reflexive verbs. French also has the subjunctive tense, which is also in Spanish. Luckily, I mean, they both come from Latin, so that helps a lot.
And you're in college. What have been the biggest challenges so far?
So, like many students in College Success Arizona, I'm first generation. And I find that the biggest problem at least when I started college, luckily I've overcome these challenges, but the biggest problem that I had was kind of that support group that I didn't have at the beginning when I started college. It's kind of difficult. Some people, when they go to college, they have their parents to ask for, because college really hasn't changed, in terms of difficulties, it hasn't changed much in the last 20, 30 years. So a lot of advice that students get from parents is kind of the same. Whereas if I had a question, I couldn't ask my mom and dad. And sometimes when I have difficulties or problems, or I'm having a tough time, it's hard to kind of relate to your parents, because even though they want to sympathize, it's kind of hard to understand what problems are or what you're dealing with, just because they've never gone through it, and this is a completely foreign concept to them. They don't understand what higher education really is. They know it's important and they know it's essential to success, but they really can't help with the technical stuff. So when I first got to college, something that I really had to work hard toward was kind of developing a support group and a support network for myself. That was very key for me in order to get to the success that I've had. I find a lot of people who went even to my high school that because they didn't form support groups, they ended up dropping out after a semester or 2 semesters, because it's really hard if you don't have a network of friends or a network of teachers or just a support group to help you and guide you through difficult times. So that was my biggest difficulty when I started college.
And College Success Arizona, can you talk about how the scholarship, which provides up to $6,000 per year for educational expenses, has helped you?
So, of course. So, clearly, one of the biggest benefits is the financial amount. That, of course, is going to help you regardless of where you lie financially. But I think one of the biggest things that they've helped me with are the support network that they provided me with. College Success Arizona has networking events at all Arizona colleges where they have College Success Network scholars. So kind of reaching out to other people who are in a similar position as you. Many of the scholars are also first generation. They come from humble backgrounds. So it's very easy to connect to these people and kind of find out what they're doing to stay afloat. Another thing is the advisors. Advisors are honestly, they've helped me so much. They've helped me whenever I had questions. They've always been outgoing. Whenever I have a problem, they're more than willing to help. And the one thing that they really strive to do is kind of connect you to other scholars in the network, especially ones that are similar to your major, because, of course, they also understand this importance of networking. They want you to get involved. So I've had the opportunity to participate in panels and participate in interviews. So it's really been a really good networking opportunity, not just with scholars, but also outside with companies out in the real world.
And what do you say to middle and high school students in terms of offering some advice who may be considering their own college careers?
Number one, never be ashamed to ask for help. I think we live in a society that at least when you start out, that there's this focus on independence, kind of finding things, doing things on your own and kind of succeeding on your own. But I feel in order to succeed, you kind of have to work with your strengths and weaknesses, find out what your weaknesses are, and find people to kind of complement you and who are able to help you out. Also, something that I wish someone had told me when I was in middle school or high school is reach out to people in the industry, kind of figure out what you want to do, and go out and kind of see what success looks like. Don't be limited to the mindset that you have right now. Go out there and kind of discover what the world has to offer, what positions are out there. Because especially for kids who live in, kind of poor communities, it's very easy to kind of get into this mentality of, well, this is all I've known. I feel by exploring and kind of shadowing people in the professional industry, you kind of get a better feeling of what you can accomplish. And I think that's something that I feel I would have benefited from had somebody told me that when I was in high school or even middle school.
And it sounds like you have a pretty exciting life ahead of you with the language as a possible international career. Do you have a sort of dream job, country, position where you might see yourself eventually?
So, of course, eventually I would like to get to either a Spanish-speaking country or French-speaking country, even in English, another English-speaking country. So France, Spain, even I'm fine, all Latin America. But I just see myself working in several countries. I kind of want to be someone who's traveling to different countries. One thing I firmly believe in is constantly getting to know different people from different backgrounds. Something that I firmly believe in is challenging my beliefs. I have my beliefs right now. My beliefs are based on the perspective that I've been given, based on my upbringing and based on what I've experienced in life. And I think kind of experiencing what other people have gone through different perspectives around the world is very interesting and kind of keeps your brain sharp and makes you understand people better.
Who have been the biggest influences in your life in terms of pushing you towards attending college and getting a good education?
Without a doubt, my parents. I know that's kind of a cliche, and a lot of people say that, but my parents are originally from Mexico, and the main reason they came here was so their children could have opportunities that they weren't given when they were growing up. My dad, unfortunately, at the time, he was the 8th out of 10th kid in his family, and by the time my grandparents got to him, when it was his time to go to college, unfortunately, there was no financial aid at the time, so he couldn't go to college. And my mother, unfortunately, her father refused to pay for her college education because he had this old school mentality that women belonged at home. So both of my parents never got that opportunity to get that higher education, and they moved to the United States specifically so that their future children would eventually have the opportunity to go to college and pursue a higher education. So ever since I was born, the main reason that my parents moved here was so I could get a college education. So growing up, it was always an expectation. My mom, she only graduated from from middle school, but she would always help me when she could. She had a hard time understanding algebra and geometry and the sciences, but she would always make sure that I would get the support that I needed. And my parents were highly involved and volunteered whenever they could at my school. So I feel like my parents played a huge, huge role in making sure that I went to college.
Thank you, Louise, for the interview and for working so hard to make a difference in our community.